so my name is Dr. Julia Pullin and I'm the founder of the Chiro Health Clinic. Now, I heard that you'd missed the workshop this week, but that's not a problem. So what we decided to do was actually send you a little video which summarised what we covered, what we learned, so basically you didn't feel like you'd missed out. So what I wanted to cover was a few facts about headaches and migraines first, then we'll run through a little bit of anatomy, some of the common mistakes that people make when they have headaches or migraines, and then what you can actually do about them. Before I got to chiropractic college, I was a headache sufferer. I literally suffered from headaches every single day, and I still remember my very first treatment. I remember that on that evening, just how clear my head felt and how much extra energy I had, and I actually felt like smiling again, so I do know what you're going through. So with that in mind, let's hit the ground running. Let's give you some information on what to do, how you can help yourself, and everything that we can to help you. So what I want you to know is that you are not alone. So did you know that tension headaches is the top disease in the world? So, and with migraines is number 3. It's the 3rd most common disease in the world. So you've got tension headaches as number 1. Of all things, it's tooth decay is the 2nd most common disease that we suffer from as human beings. And number 3 is migraines. And in fact, 1 in 7 of us may suffer from migraines at this moment in time. So what I want you to know is you are not alone. This is extremely common, but there is help out there. So I'm not a numbers person, I have to say, so I've gone and jotted down some numbers for you, which I thought you might find a little bit interesting. So, of all things, the cost just purely to the UK from migraines alone is £3.42 billion per year. Like, wow. And then if you add in all the headache types of disorders on top of that, then you hit £5 to £7 billion per year, and that's how much it's costing the UK. On top of that, 25 million days are lost from either work or school because of migraines in the UK. Headaches and migraines it's like an epidemic, but there is help for us. And so what we're going to do now is start running through a little bit of the anatomy so that you can understand what's actually happening. So I'm about to go grab my spine. Okay, right then. So what we have is the pelvis down here at the bottom, which is made up of iliac crests over here, sacrum in the middle, coccyx down at the bottom, a little wiggly bit at the bottom. We have 24 vertebrae running up through the spine, okay? And then each of them are separated by little joints, which hopefully you can see just there, okay? And those little joints, they only move a little bit, it's not much. But all the movements add up to give you global movement, so you can bend, twist, do all the things that you need to do. If I show you in the neck, then you can see they are very little dinky little joints there. And again, they move only a little bit, but they add up so that you can bend and twist, all right? These bubbles at the back are what you can feel through your skin. And if I turn you around, you can see more the weight-bearing part of your spine. So you've got the vertebral bodies, and then you've got the discs in between, okay? Purpose of your disc, 3 main purposes of your disc. So the disc is firstly a shock absorber. Secondly, it is a spacer, which allows for enough room for this little dinky nerve to come out of this hole here. And then also it allows for the flexibility as well, so that your body can bend and move, okay? So obviously the discs have very important role. They are phenomenally strong. And the best I can describe it, they are a little bit like a poached egg. So you've got the white on the outside and then you've got the yolk on the inside. So the yolk on the inside allows for its flexibility, but the white on the outside are fibres that are overlapped, and that's where it gets its strength from, and they're like onion skin, so there's multiple layers. So your strength comes from the outside of the disc. Okay? Alright then, so you have the base of your skull, your brain would sit at the top, your spinal cord runs all the way down the centre, and then your nerves exit out of these holes at the side, and they go to supply every cell, every tissue, every single organ in your body. Nothing happens in your body without messages going from your brain, down your spinal cord, out to whatever they supply. But also, interestingly, there's a feedback mechanism. So what actually happens is messages come back from those cells, tissues and organs into the spinal cord, up to the brain to say what's actually happening. So you've got this constant feedback loop going on all of the time. Okay? So that's a little bit of anatomy about the spine. Now, my job as a chiropractor is to make sure that all of this is functioning how it's supposed to. So why do you think that is? So the purpose is to make sure that the nerve supply to all those cells, tissues, organs, whatever they're going to supply, are working exactly how they're supposed to be working. Okay? Now the most common cause of nerve interference is actually when these joints aren't moving how they're supposed to. And I'm going to come on shortly onto how that actually causes headaches and migraines. Okay, so hopefully you can see this. I'm just holding the iPad in front of the screen, and this is one of the slides from the workshop. But this is showing you the effects of spinal misalignment and what actually happens to your body when you have any spinal misalignment and it's interfering with the nerves. So first of all, you can have spinal cord tension. Then it affects the venous drainage and the arterial supply, so that your blood supply is influenced. Supply of your spinal fluid is affected. It can influence your balance. It actually affects your stress levels, which is one of the reasons why we have a scanner in our clinic that assesses your stress levels when you come in. Obviously you can get pain, and it alters the overall function, and that altered function could ultimately result in things like arthritis in the future. Okay, so I've popped the spine down because it gets heavy when you've been carrying it for a while. Okay then, so there is one thing that all headaches, all that are out there, so whether it be a tension headache, a cluster headache, even a hangover, a migraine, it really doesn't matter what type of headache, they all have one thing in common. What do you think it is? Okay, I'm going to tell you. It's the fact that in every single one, the neurology is being affected. Without exception, it's interference to the nervous system in some way, shape or form. And so what we have to do is address the interference to the nervous system and the disruption to the nervous system, and then we get a change in what actually happens with regard to your symptoms. So when you come to see us, what we're going to do, we do a thorough assessment in order to find out exactly what's causing your headache and what type of headache you've got, because there are in fact over 150 different types of headaches. I know, who'd have thought? So what we have to do is go through a series of questions initially, so the initial consultation, and we're going to be very specific and say, tell me exactly where is your pain? What does it feel like? Is it sharp, shooting, gnawing, achy, toothache, dull, throbbing, burning? Now the reason why we ask these questions is all of these give us indicators as to what structures are involved. The type of pain actually gives us a bit of direction as to what structures are involved in your case. So that's the thing, it's very, very individual, and what we have to do is say, okay, so the pain's exactly here, is it throbbing pain here, is it, so this starts to build up a picture for us, and I think of it a little bit like a jigsaw. I start asking you questions, and I get another piece of the jigsaw puzzle, pop it in. I ask you a few more questions, another bit of my jigsaw puzzle, and eventually I can see the big picture so that I know exactly what is going on in your case. We then go into an examination, and to be honest, when we're doing an examination, more of that is to confirm our suspicions, our thoughts, and what we suspect is the diagnosis. And if anything comes up and we're thinking, no, that's not a finding that I expect, then we know that we've got to delve further. The crux of it is, if your spine and your isn't functioning, isn't moving how it's supposed to, and it's applying pressure to the nerves, and the nerves are getting influenced, then basically you start to get a range of symptoms. And if it's the top vertebrae in the neck, typically between the base of the skull down to around about C3, so your cervical level number 3, so the third vertebra down, between those levels, if they're being influenced, then they're the ones that can actually cause headaches and migraines, along with other types of headaches as well, because of their influence on the nervous system. So what are the benefits of getting rid of any of this spinal dysfunction that's going on? From my personal experience, it was being able to smile more. I was a bit of a grumpy girl, even though I hate to admit it. But yeah, it was being social, being around people. I was always putting on a show. It was like, you know, oh gosh, some of the social situations that I avoided, it was awful. And it was just because it was such hard work. Being around people when you've got a headache, it's downright miserable, to be honest, even when it's the people that you love. So I do understand that it can have a massive influence on your life, a really significant influence on your life. And for me, I suppose the other part of it was the energy, just having so much and clarity as well. Oh my word, gosh. The evening of my first adjustment, oh god, it was ace. I was at college at that point in time, and obviously I was studying, and that evening I got so much done. It was just fabulous. I remember being so excited because I could think, and it was just like everything was coming to me, snap. It was brilliant. So all I can say is, if you haven't considered chiropractic or osteopathy in the past, then please do. It could change your life. It certainly changed your life. Okay, so now it's time for the stats, the real information. So a global study that was done actually showed that it was over 74% of people that received spinal care actually had, 74% of them had significant improvement in their symptoms. Significant. Now, we as a clinic decided we were going to be better than that. So what we've gone and done, we actually studied headaches and migraines, because what we wanted to do was beat those stats essentially. And also in that study, 30% had complete remission of all their symptoms. Complete. Life has changed, what we are exposed to has changed. So what we wanted to do is incorporate modern influences onto headaches and migraines into our protocol within the clinic, and how we addressed headaches and migraines within the clinic. So within our protocol we cover a number of things. We cover hydration levels. Clearly we cover spinal function and removing any interference to the nervous system. We cover light and light stimulation, particularly from things like computers, and obviously mobile phones and iPads and all that kind of thing. They have a massive impact. Posture is a huge one, because obviously a lot of people are on their phones these days, heads are tucked down, so that's having a big impact as well. And then also stress levels. Stress levels plays a significant part in it. And while we can't necessarily change your life, we can change how your body responds to the stresses around it. So typically when people have headaches and migraines, they make one big mistake. We see this all of the time in the clinic. So what I want you to do is definitely not do this from now on. So the thing that most people do, because headaches and migraines typically involve tension in the neck and discomfort in the neck as well, then they put heat on. They put heat on the neck, and unfortunately it makes the situation worse. Now, don't get me wrong, you will feel some temporary relief from popping the heat pack on, or whatever you put onto your neck to warm it up. But the problem with that is you have got angry structures in there at this moment in time, and those angry structures do not like heat. It's like having a burnt thumb and you put it under the hot tap instead of the cold one. It just doesn't make any sense at all. You know that's going to make it worse. But by putting cold on instead, and you calm the area down, you decrease the inflammation, you make those structures feel more, you give them that breather, then that gives you more long-term benefits. And that's what we're after. We want long-term benefits. We don't want short-term, a little quick fix, heat it up, muscles relax off a little bit. That, yeah, that's fine temporarily. But if you've heated the angry structures that are inflamed, what's going to happen? It's all going to get tighter later on. It's actually going to make the situation worse. So please, 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 please do not put heat on your neck anymore. Thank you. So now that you know that the spine is the most common cause of headaches and migraines, how many of you think that it's a good idea to get checked once in your life? Get your spine and nervous system checked once in your lifetime. If that's the case, then now's the time to give us a call. We're here for you. We want to help. You've just got to pick up the phone or click on the button below.